You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and obviously I'm going to start by recapping Game 1 of the World Series. And everyone's talking about the incredible performance that Mookie Betts had. And I'll get into Betts in a minute, but he's not the most important guy to talk about when it comes to this game. The most important thing to talk about when it comes to this game is the terrible managing of Kevin Cash. A guy who I've been praising for a while. I think he's a good manager. I really, really do. But he mangled this game yesterday. I mean, I'd love to know what was going through his mind in that fifth inning. Why on God's green earth did he wait that long to pull Tyler Glasnow? That game yesterday was without question the worst managed game that Kevin Cash has had all postseason. Before I get too far into it, though, I want to set the stage for you. Mookie Betts was leading off that inning. Glasnow, at this point, had thrown, I think it was 86 pitches. That's fine. He should have been left in to face Betts. Betts draws a walk. One of those balls was actually a strike, but Laz Diaz was the home plate umpire. I don't know how Laz Diaz got that assignment. Laz Diaz is a terrible umpire. The one thing I'll say is, compared to other games I've seen Laz Diaz ump, he was Jocko Conlon last night. So, look, I'm not going to get on Diaz too much for what he did yesterday, but Major League Baseball cannot have him umpiring in the World Series. That's a terrible job by Manfred. But there's a runner on first at this point. Corey Seager at bat. Betts stole second. So everyone in America gets a free taco. Awesome. Thank you, Mookie Betts. But Seager engineers a great 8-pitch at bat. He makes Glasnow work, and he draws a walk. So it's first and second, nobody out at this point. Glasnow has thrown 99 pitches. This is a manager who loves to pull his starters early. He did it with Charlie Morton. He did it with Blake Snell. He's done it with Glasnow before. But he leaves Glasnow in to face Justin Turner. Now, Glasnow did get Turner to strike out, but Glasnow is very slow to the plate. He has an elongated delivery. It's very easy to steal off him. On the pitch that Turner struck out on, there was a double steal. Betts stole third, Seager stole second. Second and third, one out. Glasnow has thrown over 100 pitches. Cash has literally every reliever at his disposal. realize the Rays didn't play on Sunday and they didn't play on Monday. So guys like Anderson, Fairbanks, Thompson, Castillo, whoever, they're all available at this point. Cash lets Glasnow face Max Muncy. The infield is in. Muncy hits a hot shot to Yandy Diaz. Diaz snags it. Nice play. The throw's a little off. And the run scores. It's 3-1 Dodgers at this point. You can tell Glasnow doesn't have it. All you have to do is just open your eyes. It's done. The guy's gassed. Get him out. Cash leaves him in to face Will Smith. Smith hits an RBI single. My buddy Mark had texted me something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I responded by saying the Rays should have pulled Glasnow earlier. Mark replied, "You don't want to exhaust your bullpen in Game 1! Exclamation point. And this is what I said to him. Then lose. See if I care. If you want to tell me that Kevin Cash was managing for the future in this game, he didn't feel a burning desire to go all out to win Game 1, fine. You can tell me that. But that doesn't mean it's a good strategy. I'm sure that was going through Cash's mind. Throw away this game and we'll get him tomorrow. It doesn't work that way in the playoffs. There are no gimmies. You can't say, you know what, it looks like we're going to lose this game, so, I'm not going to go all out to try to salvage a win. We'll get him tomorrow. You have no idea if you're going to get him tomorrow. Do I think the Rays are going to win tonight? Meaning yesterday's tomorrow? I think that tracks. Yes, I do. Blake Snell versus Tony Gonsolin? Give me Blake Snell. But you've now put the Rays in a really tough spot. If they don't win this game, they're down 2-0. I'm not saying it's all over at that point, but it's not looking good. I mean, the Rays should know that. They almost blew a 3-0 series lead. After the Smith single, Cash finally goes to his bullpen. He brings in Ryan Yarbrough. Fine. I have no issue with that. Yarbrough gets Cody Bellinger to pop out. So it's runners on the corners, 2 outs. Chris Taylor hits an RBI single. Enrique Hernandez hits a pinch hit RBI single. It's 6-1 Dodgers at this point. Game over. No way are the Rays going to come back and win this thing. And then Josh Fleming comes out to start the 6th. That's the white flag. 8-1 after 6. In the 7th inning, it was a little touch and go. I mean, the Rays were in a situation in the top of the 7th where it was 8-3, runners on first and second, and 1 out for Mike Zunino. Zunino's a really good power hitter. With one swing of the bat, he can make it 8-6. And the Rays are right back in this thing. But Victor Gonzalez turns one of the most incredible double plays you'll ever see. A line shot that Gonzalez somehow spears. He waits to fire to second so Kiki Hernandez can get over there. Beautifully done. textbook. You can't do it any better. And after that, the game was kind of unexciting. The Dodgers won 8-3, but look, you can't manage that game much worse if you're Cash. You have to pull Glasnow earlier. I understand riding your starters. I get that. And I liked that he pitched to Betts. I liked that he pitched to Seager. But at that point, Glasnow's laboring. You can see it. Pull him. It's 2-1 at this point. Glasnow allowed runners to move up on the next 3 at-bats. By the time Yarborough came in, it's 4-1. You think Ryan Yarborough's gonna get out of that inning unscathed? No, that's not gonna happen. This was a terrible job by Cash. The Rays have to win tonight, or else they're in a really bad spot. I don't want to say it's all over if they fall down 2-0, but it doesn't look good. I mean, on Friday, the Dodgers are going to start Walker Buehler. The Rays are going to counter with Charlie Morton. But I'll take Buehler over Morton. As great as Morton is in the playoffs, give me Buehler. Kevin Cash had every opportunity to put his team in a better position to win that game yesterday than he did, and he blew it. I like Cash a lot, but my God, did he lay an egg here. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the great performance from Mookie Betts. The first player in World Series history to have 2 steals, 2 runs, and a home run in the same game. The guy was great. Defensively, he made another nice catch, created havoc on the base paths, great with his bat. At this very moment, he may be the best player in baseball. I wouldn't go as far as to call him the LeBron James of baseball. I understand what they were going for, but he's got to win first before we call him that. He's got to win more than 1 MVP. I understand the talent he is. I'm not trying to knock Betts. Fantastic player. Elite player. If you're starting a team from scratch, you could do a lot worse than Mookie Betts. But I wouldn't call him the LeBron James of baseball. Otherwise, for the Dodgers, Max Muncy was good. 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. He also scored 2 runs. Drew a walk because that's what Max Muncy does. Clayton Kershaw pitched really well in this game. 6 innings of 1-run ball. And he had 8 strikeouts. I think at one point, he had retired 13 straight Rays. I mean, I still don't trust Kershaw in the playoffs. When you really need a win, you can't trust Kershaw. Alright, we've seen it time and again. Kershaw has moments in the playoffs where he pitches really well. But he's not in that upper echelon of playoff pitchers. He was great yesterday. Not trying to take anything away from him. I thought Dave Roberts pulled him way too early. See, I'm of the mindset that you keep your starter in until it's painfully clear he can't go anymore. If you want to pull a guy after 100 pitches, I get that. That's all well and good. But you can't pull a guy after 70 or 80 pitches when he's dealing. If he's laboring, if you can see it in his eyes, if he's not locating well, yes, pull him. But that's not what happened with Kershaw. Dave Roberts went to the other extreme. He pulled his starter too early, and it almost blew up. Right in his face. I mean, Dylan Floro was ineffective. Victor Gonzalez, if not for that double play, God only knows what would have happened. I mean, if that ball gets through, it's probably 8-4. A million things can happen at that point. But at the end of the day, it all worked out. Kershaw pitched well. I give him credit. Let's see if he can do it again. He's either going to start Game 4 or Game 5. Like I said, let's see him do it again. I told you that it's going to be Blake Snell going up against Tony Gonsolin tonight. I'll go a little more in-depth into that. Snell likes to attack hitters up high with his fastball. Throws a changeup to righties that tails out of the zone. A slider to lefties that tails out of the zone. He likes to get you flailing. He likes to get swings and misses. And when his stuff is on, he can do that better than anyone. And Gonsolin likes to pepper the strike zone with his fastball. He likes to throw his splitter in on lefties. He likes to paint that low inside corner on him. Same thing with his slider, although that's more effective against righties. I like Gonsolin. I think he's a decent pitcher. He hasn't been good in the playoffs so far this year. He's 0-1 with a 9.95 ERA. But realize, this is still his rookie year. He's never pitched in the playoffs before. I think the Rays are going to win tonight. And I think they're going to put up 7 or 8 runs. But down the line, it wouldn't surprise me if Tony Gonsolin turned into another really good pitcher for the Dodgers. There is one hockey story that I want to get to, and that is the Maple Leafs re-signing Ilya Mikheyev for 2 years at $3.29 million. And this is a good move for the Maple Leafs. They're in some cap trouble. It seems like they always are. The main thing that they really need are guys that can come in on cheap deals and play on the top 6. They don't need to be great. They have great players on their top 6. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and William Nylander. They just need good. They have Zach Hyman. Hyman's a solid player. And Mikheyev came up and played really well. 23 points in 39 games. He's probably going to open the season as the Leafs' second-line left winger. I think he'll do really well in that role. It wouldn't surprise me if he got 50 points next year. The Leafs got him at a cheap contract. This is a great move for the Leafs. Alright, I'm going to bring back something that I haven't done in a long time. Not a lot happened yesterday in sports. It's a Tuesday in October. You'd think there'd be hockey, maybe some basketball, but in 2020, that isn't happening. So I think you're going to get a lot of this going forward. It's time to start the trifecta by going Baseball Hall of Faming. The guy who I want to talk to you about today is Bill Terry. Now, most of you probably aren't going to know that name. But there may be some people who just did a double take. Jacob, what are you talking about? How can you not say that Bill Terry belongs in the Hall of Fame? I understand where you're coming from. Bill Terry is the last player in National League history to hit over 400 in a season. He did that in 1930. I mean, I'll tell you, when I told my father that I don't think Bill Terry should be in the Hall of Fame, he did a double take. But here's why I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. At the end of the day, it comes down to methodology. Now, the guy played from 1923 to 1936. There weren't too many power hitters back then. So I'm not going to kill Terry for not hitting a bunch of home runs. He did have a few seasons where he hit at least 20 home runs, but he finished his career with only 154 home runs. Not exactly a big bopper. If I'm not going to look at power, I'm going to look at hits. And Bill Terry only has 2,193 hits. Now, he has a career .341 batting average. That's a great career batting average. No question about that. But batting average doesn't get you in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. If you're a Negro Leaguer, we can look at batting average. Because those guys didn't play in as many games as players in the American League and the National League. So we have to look at batting average. But for American and National Leaguers, I don't think batting average works. If you look at the career batting average leaderboard, you'd be surprised how many non-Hall of Famers, I'm not saying players that aren't in the Hall of Fame, but players that have no business being in the Hall of Fame, are pretty high up on that list. A guy like Lefty O'Doul is 4th all-time in batting average. He's not getting in the Hall of Fame. Pete Browning is 13th. He's not getting in the Hall of Fame. Rick Stevenson is 22nd. Not a Hall of Famer. It's okay if you don't know these names. But the point I'm making is, batting average isn't a great indicator for American and National Leaguers to get in the Hall of Fame. This guy doesn't have a lot of bold type on the back of the baseball card. Only has one World Series, 1933. And even if you wanted to tell me that he was the best first baseman in the National League, how true is that? Jim Bottomley was right up there. High Pockets Kelly was right up there. It's closer than you'd think. Look, out of all the people that I've removed from the Baseball Hall of Fame, Terry is by far and away the best. I have no problem putting him in a Hall of Very Good. But I don't think there's enough there to keep him in the Hall of Fame. Alright, it's time for this day in sports history. On this day, in 1998, the New York Yankees won the World Series. It was their 24th World Series, and it capped off one of, if not the greatest season in MLB history. That 98 Yankees team is without question one of the best teams in baseball history. And if you wanted to tell me it's the best team all time, I'd listen to you. Look, when you look at their average lineup, it doesn't have the heft of the 27 or 61 Yankees. As much as I loved guys like Georgie and Tino and Brocious and Bernie and Paul O'Neill, they don't compare to Maris and Mantle and Berra, Ruth, Gehrig, and Combs. But what that team did without a bunch of stars up and down their lineup will never be duplicated. They just produced. They moved runners over. They went from first to third on singles. They were okay with going station to station and not hitting a bunch of home runs. That Yankees team finished fourth in the American League in home runs that year with 207. Now that's not nothing, but it's not what you see now. No one on that 98 team hit 30 home runs. Their leader in homers was Tino with 28. That team was just comprised of guys who went out there and did their job every day. Did they have some stars? Yeah, they did. They had Jeter. They had David Cone. They had Mariano. Tino, at that point, was a borderline star. They had Darryl Strawberry at the end of his career. They didn't not have star power, but it wasn't overly reliant on stars. It was the unsung guys who got the job done. Scott Brocious hit 300. And this guy was hitting ninth most of the time. Chuck Knobloch, before he forgot how to play baseball, hit 265. He had 31 steals. Really good leadoff hitter. Tim Raines, at the end of his career, was still producing. El Duque came out of nowhere to put together a 12-4 season to get the ball to Mariano. The Yankees had guys like Ramiro Mendoza, Jeff Nelson, Graham Lloyd, and Darren Holmes. None of those guys were stars, but they just went out there and executed. I mentioned Strawberry a little earlier. He was a big part of that team, but the Yankees were without him in the playoffs because he had colon cancer. The Yankees didn't let that get to him. In fact, they rallied around Strawberry. Chili Davis stepped in and had a great postseason. This was a guy who didn't play a lot in 98. He only appeared in 35 games. But he had a track record of success. 3-time All-Star, had hit 30 home runs the year before. The Yankees knew they could count on him. And Davis stepped into that Strawberry role and hit 259 with a 364 on-base percentage, 1 home run, 7 RBIs, and 5 walks. That just epitomized the 98 Yankees. One guy goes down, another guy steps up. But Davis, at least, you'd expect to hold his own. I don't think anyone expected Ricky Leday to do what he did in the 98 playoffs. Leday was a backup outfielder, again, wasn't used a lot, and didn't exactly set the world on fire. He had 241. 1 homer, 12 RBIs. Not a bad player, but not a great one. The Yankees had tried a couple guys and left in the postseason before Leday got his chance. Chad Curtis and Shane Spencer didn't set the world on fire. Spencer came up and had a great stretch run, but he just couldn't carry it over into the playoffs. And Leday got his chance. And what he did cannot be overstated. In 8 straight plate appearances, he got on base. In the World Series, in the 3 games he started, the Yankees swept the Padres. Leday went 2 for 3 with a double. Every game. He finished that World Series hitting .600. This guy was a no-name. When he got the start in Game 1, no one expected anything from him. But you know what? He got his chance, and he took it. That's what the 98 Yankees were. Not stars, but guys who, when they were given the opportunity, they just produced. In the regular season that year, the Yankees won 114 games. Out of every team in MLB history to win the World Series, the 98 Yankees have more wins than any of them. It is without question one of the greatest teams in baseball history, and you make the argument, the best team in MLB history. Alright, it's time for another Mount Rushmore. We're on the Philadelphia Flyers now, a team that I hate. I hate their fans, I hate their players, I hate pretty much everything about them. But I was a little kid. Went to some Islanders-Flyers games in Philly. I'm in Islander gear. Every single time I was harassed, mercilessly. I'm a little kid at this point. I mean, now I can take it. But let me tell you, what those fans were doing to me back then was vicious. Just cruel. No excuse to do that to a little kid. So this is kind of hard to do, but at the end of the day, this was an easy Mount Rushmore to come up with. The correct Mount Rushmore is Bobby Clark, Bernie Parent, Bill Barber, and Ron Hextall. Bobby Clark was a lifetime Flyer, leads them in points, 2-time Stanley Cup winner on the Broad Street Bullies, 3-time Hart Trophy winner, 8-time All-Star, incredibly durable player, and would later go on to be Flyers GM. Bernie Parent was the goalie of the Broad Street Bullies, and has a really interesting story. Started out with the Boston Bruins, did nothing there, went to the Flyers, played well, but then he was traded to the Maple Leafs, played well, but then he jumped over to Philadelphia's WHA team did nothing. Went back to the Flyers and then took his game to another level. After Perrant returned from the WHA, he won back-to-back Conn Smythe trophies, back-to-back Vezina trophies, and led the NHL in wins and GAA in back-to-back seasons. I don't know what exactly he learned in the WHA, but it helped him take his game to another level. Bill Barber, if he could have stayed healthy for a longer period of time, probably would have been higher on this Mount Rushmore. But at the end of the day, he only played 12 seasons. Gotta punish him a little bit for that. He finished his career as an almost point-a-game player, 883 points in 903 games. Went straight from his amateur team, the Kitchener Rangers, to the NHL, and dominated. I don't know how he didn't win the Calder Trophy. He should have won it over Steve Vickers. Again, 2-time Stanley Cup winner, 6-time All-Star, incredibly dominant player. And Ron Hextall was a really, really good goalie for the Flyers. Spent a year with the Islanders, didn't do anything. That's not why I have him on this Mount Rushmore. I have him here because he leads the Flyers in wins by a goalie. And what he did in his rookie season in the playoffs is incredible. Hextall immediately became the Flyers starting goalie in his rookie season, 86-87. Spent no time as a backup. Just went straight to being the starter. Because of him, Tim Kerr, Peter Zezel, Dave Poulin, Brian Propp, Mark Howe, Pelly Eklund, etc., etc. That Flyers team went on a magical run to the Stanley Cup Finals. They beat the Rangers, Islanders, and Canadiens, and they took the Oilers to 7 games, but they lost that 7th game 3-1. But Hextall was so dominant in those playoffs that he won the Conn Smythe Trophy. Later on, he would win the Vezina Trophy. Bear in mind, he did all that as a rookie. You gotta wonder how you win the Conn Smythe Trophy and the Vezina Trophy, but not the Calder. Luc Robitaille won the Calder that year. As great as Robitaille was, it's close between him and Hextall. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying, shout out to you, Daryl Cousins.